Some towns wear their peace like a comfortable old coat. Ashton Falls, Colorado, nestled near the foothills in 1997, was one of them. Arriving as an international student, eager to dive into my literature studies but daunted by the expense of American life, the quiet streets lined with old trees felt both welcoming and oddly isolating. Finding affordable housing was a relief that bordered on sheer luck. Apartment 3B wasn't luxurious, a slightly dated two-level unit in a nondescript building, but it was spacious, within my budget, and crucially, available. I'd be sharing with Liam, another student I'd met briefly. He seemed trustworthy enough, maybe a year or two younger, quiet but solid. The setup felt blessedly ordinary, a safe harbor from the financial anxieties of studying abroad. I settled in, grateful for the normalcy. This story, however, isn't about ordinary student life. It's about what happened in apartment 3B. It's a memory I've carried for decades, heavy and sharp-edged, a reminder that even the most unassuming places can hold unimagined terror. Our life there started simply enough, unaware of the nightmare lurking beneath the surface. The first few weeks in Apt 3B unfolded with a deceptive tranquility. Settling in felt surprisingly easy, almost mundane. The condo, larger than expected for the price, had a slightly unconventional layout. The lower floor was dominated by a spacious living area and kitchen, with a small, windowless laundry room tucked away near the back, adjacent to a basic bathroom. A set of slightly creaky wooden stairs ascended to the second floor, where our bedrooms were located. Mine was positioned just at the top, its window offering a view of the quiet street below, catching the morning sun. Liam occupied the room down the hall. Though younger, he possessed a quiet maturity and a surprising knack for keeping the shared spaces tidy, a relief for me as I navigated the demands of being an international student adapting to life in Ashton Falls. Our majors couldn't have been more different, my studies steeped in literature, his in engineering, yet our class schedules at the university aligned often enough that we fell into a comfortable rhythm. We'd share quick breakfasts before heading to the campus together, comparing notes on professors or complaining about assignments over cheap takeout dinners. A genuine friendship began to form, built on shared routines and mutual respect. Liam's girlfriend, Chloe, soon became a frequent, lively presence. Energetic and quick to laugh, she filled the space with an easygoing warmth, often joining us for movie nights or study breaks. Her dynamic with Liam was playful, and she quickly included me in their banter. Life settled into a pattern of classes, study sessions, and navigating the nuances of shared living. There were occasional oddities we barely registered at the time. Sometimes, a strange, persistent chill would linger near the base of the staircase, even on warm days, and faint, intermittent scratching sounds from within the walls were dismissed as mice or simply the old building settling. Mostly, though, it felt normal, safe. We were just two students sharing an apartment, blissfully unaware of the unsettling turn our ordinary lives were about to take. The quiet camaraderie we built became the calm before an unimaginable storm. That fragile sense of ordinary safety we'd painstakingly constructed in Apt 3B, the feeling of just being two students navigating midterms and cheap ramen. It didn't just crack, it exploded one Tuesday night, deep in the suffocating hours between 1 and 2 a.m. Sleep had claimed me, thick and heavy, until the sound began. Not footsteps, exactly. More like something heavy, impossibly heavy, being dragged up the wooden stairs outside my door. Thump, scrape, thump, scrape. My first thought, groggy and annoyed, was Liam. Maybe he and Chloe were back late, maybe they'd dropped a suitcase. Idiots. I almost shouted out, then hesitated. The dragging stopped. Abruptly. Silence pressed in, suddenly thick and watchful. And then, the creak. Slow, deliberate. My bedroom door easing open, inch by agonizing inch. Not playful. Not Liam. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and my throat. Ice water seemed to flood my veins, freezing me in place beneath the thin blanket. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. Couldn't even turn my head properly towards the widening sliver of dim hallway light slicing into my room. From where I lay, my bed slightly recessed from the door, I couldn't see who, or what, stood there. Only darkness. But I felt it. A presence. Ancient. Malevolent. Then, a shape resolved itself against the faint light from the hall. Tall. Impossibly tall and gaunt, like a famine victim stretched on a rack. It wasn't just old, it looked desiccated. Skin like brittle parchment pulled taut over sharp bones. Wispy, gray hair, thin as cobwebs, floated around a skull-like head. And the eyes, dear God, the eyes. They seemed to absorb the dim light, reflecting nothing back, twin pools of utter emptiness fixed directly on me. A paralysis deeper than any sleep held me captive, a physical weight pressing down, stealing my breath, silencing the frantic scream building in my chest. Primal terror, pure and undiluted. Movement. Faster than sight, faster than thought. The figure didn't step, it flowed across the small space towards my bed. In one skeletal hand, something glinted dully, not a sword, not exactly. More like a long, wickedly curved carving knife, tarnished and ancient-looking, maybe 40 centimeters long. There was no time for defense, no time even to flinch. It was just there. Above me. The arm raised, the empty eyes boring into mine. Then the strike. Not a sharp stab, but a sickening, deep pressure ramming into my abdomen, stealing the air from my lungs. It felt wrong. Sideways somehow, the blade entering horizontally, a violation of physics. No immediate searing pain, just an expanding, paralyzing cold radiating from the point of impact. But my throat felt like it was being ripped open, a razor-sharp sting that made no sense. I gasped, choking on phantom agony, the scent of dust and decay filling my nostrils. This is it. My mind screamed, fractured thoughts tumbling over each other. I'm dying. Here. Like this. Who is she? Why? Absurd. So utterly absurd. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the final darkness. Silence returned. Heavy, absolute, broken only by the frantic thunder of my own heart against my ribs. How long had passed? 10 seconds. 30. An eternity. Slowly, trembling violently, I forced my eyelids open. Nothing. The room was empty. Dark. The door still slightly ajar, the hallway beyond silent. My hand flew to my stomach, fingers probing desperately through my sweat-soaked t-shirt. Nothing. No wound. No blood. Just clammy skin stretched tight over frantically churning insides. I was drenched, shivering uncontrollably despite the sweat, goosebumps prickling across my entire body. The image of the crone, those dead eyes, the glinting knife, was burned onto the backs of my eyelids. A nightmare? Had to be. Just a particularly vivid, terrifying nightmare. A hallucination brought on by stress or bad pizza. But the sweat felt real. The ice lingering in my veins felt real. The bone-deep terror that refused to subside, that felt utterly, terrifyingly real. Something had been in my room. Whether phantom or flesh, the visit had left its mark, a chilling question hanging in the suffocating darkness. That chilling question, dream or reality, echoed through the exhausted, hollow spaces in my mind the next day. I'd eventually drifted into a fitful, nightmare-laced sleep long after the pre-dawn light, only to wake hours later feeling like I'd gone 10 rounds with a ghost. Which, maybe I had. My body ached, head throbbed. I tried to dismiss it. Stress. Lack of sleep. An overactive imagination fueled by too many late-night horror movies. Yeah, that must be it. I stumbled downstairs towards the promise of coffee, desperate to wash away the lingering dread with caffeine. Apartment 3B felt strangely still. Too still. I found Liam already in the kitchen, slumped at the small table, staring blankly at a half-eaten bowl of cereal. He looked worse than I felt, pale, dark circles under his eyes, a tremor in his hands as he lifted his mug. He didn't seem to register me at first. Trying for normal, I mumbled a greeting and poured myself coffee. That first, scalding sip hit my throat, and the world tilted. Bam! The exact same icy, razor-sharp sting from the night before. Not a sore throat, not sickness. It was her phantom touch. My stomach plummeted. It wasn't a dream. Liam, I started, my voice hoarse. Last night, did you hear anything? Anything weird? He finally looked up, his eyes wide with a familiar terror that mirrored my own. He didn't speak for a moment, just swallowed hard. Then the words tumbled out, rushed and fragmented. Alex. God, Alex, she was here. Downstairs. I fell asleep on the sofa. She came down the stairs, he described her. The height, the gauntness, the dead eyes, the tarnished, curved knife. Every horrifying detail matched my own encounter. He described being pinned, the impossible speed, the freezing pressure in his gut as she stabbed downwards, the simultaneous agony in his throat. The blood drained from my face. We stared at each other, the unspoken horror hanging thick and heavy between us. Shared experience. Confirmation. It wasn't just me. This haunted apartment held something truly malevolent, and it had targeted us both. The escalating fear was suffocating, a physical pressure crushing my chest. Paranormal wasn't just a word anymore, it was the icy sweat on my skin, the frantic pulse in my ears. There was no discussion about the lease, about finding a new place, about logic. Only the primal, overwhelming need to escape. We moved with frantic, clumsy energy, throwing clothes, books, anything essential into duffel bags and backpacks. The apartment seemed to watch, shadows flickering in the corners of my eyes. Was that scratching sound from behind the walls louder now? As Liam grabbed his bag near the sofa, he recoiled, pointing a shaking finger. Deep, ragged gouges scarred the wooden floorboards, stark against the varnish. Scrapes that hadn't been there yesterday. We didn't pause. We practically ran for the door, not daring to look back, slamming it shut on Apt 3B and whatever nightmare resided within its walls. The trauma was fresh, the adrenaline fading into sheer, bone-chilling terror as we hit the street in Ashton Falls, leaving the key behind. Standing breathless on that Ashton Falls sidewalk, the frantic escape from Apt 3B behind us, the immediate terror began to recede, replaced by a deep, shuddering chill that lingered far longer. We found another place, finished the semester, eventually moved on with our lives. Thankfully, neither Liam nor I ever experienced anything remotely like that night again. The haunting legacy remained confined to that single, cursed apartment. But the aftermath resonates even now, years later. Liam and I rarely speak of it, the shared trauma hanging unspoken between us when we do connect. A look, a brief nod, that's usually enough. The unsolved mystery gnaws occasionally. Who was she, that spectral embodiment of rage? Why that specific apartment? It wasn't ancient, there was no local lore we could find to explain her violent presence. What invisible anchor tied her to that place? The questions remain unanswered, swirling in the dark corners of memory. Sometimes, drifting off to sleep, I still see those hollow eyes staring back from the darkness, feel that impossible, icy sting in my throat. It's a chilling reminder that some doors, once opened, never fully close.